Okay, so now that we have our lab notebook and our Google Sheet, and our Google Sheet is linked in our lab notebook, we're going to start with actually proceeding with the lab. So we're going to go back to the Blackboard page, and under the Experiment Week 1 module, we're going to scroll all the way down and we're going to go to this Part 1 Student Info Analysis. So you might recall that there were three parts to this earlier, and I moved the other two parts to a Week 2 for this lab. And part 1 is just going to involve this first student info tab of your Google Sheet. So all of the info you need for week 1 is going to be in this part of the lab, this part of the Google Sheet. So we're going to go through and we're going to see what it asks us to do, and I should enter student preview so that you guys can have a better idea of what you will see. So going back to this. It says obtain the spreadsheet, so that's something we've already done. And it says part 1 student info, and it starts going through what it wants you to do. So the first thing is just talking about data and our thoughts about data. So these are first two questions we're going to have to answer. So we're going to copy those. We're just going to go over here to questions, and we're going to paste them in. I'm going to do it numerically so that we have an idea of what question numbers correspond to what. And we are going to, as a group, discuss these questions. So you guys are going to start texting or emailing each other about these questions and what you guys think. When you guys come up with an answer to each of the questions, you're just going to write, we think that it's important to organize data because of X, Y, and Z. Would it be harder to use the data if they were in rows and not columns? Answer what you think the answer to that is. Yes, it would be easier to use the data if they were in rows instead of columns because A, B, and C. Yeah. So you're going to come up with your answers. And then part 2, what types of data are stored in your phones? You're going to talk to each other and think about what kind of things are stored in your phone. We have all sorts of data in our phone. Our data so we're just going to think of what kind of things are stored in here, and you're going to answer, we think this data is stored in it. Now you might notice that when I copy and pasted it, it's copied in a different font. So one of the other benefits of using this formatting styles is that we can just go over here and we can say this is just normal text, and it'll make all of the font the same. So it's useful to use these styles because it also makes your lab notebook uniform and easier to read. Okay, so that's the first two questions. After you get that, you're going to move on, and the next part is going to be talking about the actual Google Sheets. And I'll go over how to make these graphs in the next video.